Hey everybody. So we're starting the second session of the 2017 Mcas, and this is the calculator session. You can tell by the little calculator symbol, so you can use a calculator for these. And again, these are very different than, well, kind of different than the digital version that people are taking now, but I still think there's value in this. And there's a PDF of this document found in the video description. All right, so the idea is that you've tried this, and this is going to show you how to solve the problems. All right, let's get right to it. So number 22, Shirley is saving money to buy a computer. The computer she will buy costs $1,200. She's already saved $300. She'll save another $60 each week until she has enough money to buy the computer. How many weeks will it take Shirley to save enough money to buy the computer? Okay, so she needs $1,200, right? That's how much she needs to buy the computer. Zoom in a little bit here. She already has $300, so let's subtract $300 from that. Okay. So $1,200 minus $300 is going to be $900. So she needs $900. Okay. And she's saving $60 a week. So how many weeks is it going to take to get to $900? So we're going to simply divide $900 by 60. And you can use your calculator, but we're not going to right now. I'm going to get 30. Bring down to 0. 5. There you go. So 15 weeks. Okay. Number 23. Diagram below shows circle O with radii OL and OK. It means these are the same length. The radius, which means this is going to create an isosceles triangle. The measure of OLK, angle OLK, is 35 degrees. Okay. What is the measure of angle LOK? So we're looking for this. Always ask yourself, what is it asking us for? So we're looking for that angle. Oh, there was a problem very similar to this on the most, what was it, 2019 digital MCAS, I think. So, okay, well, we need to know that these are congruent because they are radii, and this forms an isosceles triangle. If it's an isosceles triangle, that means these base angles are the same. So this is 35 degrees. And then using triangle sum theorem, we know that all three of these angles add up to 180 degrees. So we're going to call this x, and we're simply going to say x plus 35 plus 35 equals 180, and we're going to solve for x. So these are going to combine and give you 70. So x plus 70 equals 180. And we're going to subtract 70 from both sides. And we're going to get x equals 110 degrees. And that would be this angle here. If you're not sure, you can plug it in and make sure it works. Okay, that was the previous problem. All right, let's look at number 24. Muriel and Ramon bought school supplies. Let's compute up a little bit. Bought school supplies at the same store. Muriel bought 2 boxes of pencils and 4 erasers for a total of $11. Ramon bought 1 box of pencils and 3 erasers for a total of $7. Okay. Which of the following systems of equations can be used to find P, the price in dollars of 1 box of pencils, and E, the price in dollars of 1 eraser? So we're looking to see which of these systems of equations best represents this data. So this is going to be P. So we're going to actually write it. We're not going to look at these. We're going to write it ourselves. We know P is for the pencils and E is for the erasers. So 2P, we're going to do this right here. Actually, probably easier if I write it on a piece of scrap paper above it. Hold on. That way I can look at it at the same time. Okay, here we go. So Muriel's 2P plus 4E equals 11. And then Ramon, 1P plus 3E equals 7. All right, so that'd be our system of equations. Let's see if they have that anywhere here. So 2P plus 4 equals 11. P plus, this is looking like the winner right here. Let's check these others. Nope, they switched the values there. That's out. 4 pencils, no, that's out. 4 pencils, that's out. So A is our best option. A is correct. It's much easier if you just write it first rather than try to look at these first. Okay. 25. The number of chaperones needed for a school trip is directly proportional to the number of students going on the field trip. If 96 students are going on the field trip, 12 chaperones are needed. How many chaperones are needed if 120 students are going on the field trip? This is going to see if we know what proportions are. So we're going to go students over chaperones. We're going to set this up as a proportion. And a proportion is nothing more than just two ratios set equal to each other. So students of a chaperone. So 96 students over 12 chaperones. We're going to set that equal to 120 students over an unknown number of chaperones. We put as C. We're going to solve for C. Probably should have written this on another piece of paper. There's not a lot of room here. So we are going to use the calculator because I'm going to be, is it 1,440? I think it is. 12 times 20. Oop. Yep. So 1,440 equals 96C. And divide that by 96. 15 chaperones, which is option A. So we have to know to set up a proportion, and once you set up a proportion, it is not bad. It's much easier to write in words first, and then write the values they belong. Ooh, a good old box whisker. Here we go. Look at this one. The box whisker plot shows the distribution of students' scores on a history test. Based on the box whisker plot, which is the median history test. The median score is going to be our Q2, which is represented by this line here. This is our Q2, our median. So it looks like it's right above 76. So that problem is just asking you, hey, do you know what a box whisker plot is? If you do, it'll be pretty easy for you. 27, a store sells different colored pens. The circle graph below represents all pens for sale at the store. I'm a fan of the blue pens. You know, there's some places they don't allow people to grade in red pen. Kind of nuts. Anyway, there are 200 black pens for sale at the store. How many blue pens are for sale at the store? Okay, so we know that black is the number is 200. So we're looking to find out how many numbers, what the total value of blue pens are. So we can set this up. We can say 40% of blank is 200 of the total. We don't know how many pens are our total, but we can figure that out because we know that 40% of, let's say, the inventory. Oh, phone's ringing. Come on in. All right, so we got to find 40% of the inventory. So we're going to say 40% of the inventory is equal to 200 pens. We're going to set this as a variable. So we're going to convert this to a decimal. So 40% as a decimal will be 0.4. We're going to go with x for the inventory. Equals 200. And we're going to solve for x, which is the value of how many total pens there are. I'm going to cross that out. And x is going to be equal to, let's use our calculator. So I think it's 500. Let's just double check. 200 divided by 4/10, which is 500. Look at that. Okay, that's not our answer though. So that's how many total pens there are. And then we're looking for how many blue pens there are. So we know it's going to be 35% of this. So we're going to say 0.35 or 35 hundredths of 500. And that'll tell us how many blue pens there are. So again, let's use our calculator. 35 hundredths times 500. 175. There we go. So it's 175 blue pens. So that one's kind of complicated. It's multiple steps. You got to find the total inventory first and then calculate the blue pens. That one takes a little while. Okay, here we go. 28. The diagram below shows a 20-foot ladder leaning against a wall. The bottom of the ladder is 10 feet from the base of the wall. Based on the dimensions of the diagram, what is the value of x? So we're solving for the degrees. Well, that's interesting. Let's see here. So we don't have enough information. No, actually we do. Never mind. So there's two ways you could solve this. You could solve it using trigonometry, or you could solve it with a special right triangle. Now, here's the deal. We know it's a special right triangle, but I think this problem would screw up a lot of people. We know it's a special right triangle because this is half the length of the hypotenuse. We know that this is a hypotenuse because it's opposite the 90-degree angle, and this is double the length of that. So this is double the length of that. That means this has to be a 30, 60, 90. So for example, I'm not going to use x. We're going to call this, I don't know, m. This would be 2m. And that means this would actually have to be m times radical 3. But because this is half the length of that, that means that this has to be a 30, 60, 90, which means this has to be 30 degrees. They also give you the options here, 30 being one of them. Now, let's say you didn't know that. You could also use, you could still use trigonometry. You could say that this is the opposite. This is the hypotenuse. Now, unfortunately, this older Mcas, they didn't give us the, so we could still use trigonometry here because we know this is opposite and that's hypotenuse. So we could say, let's see, SOHCAHTOA, if you remember these. Good old acronym here. So opposite hypotenuse is right here. So we're going to say that the sine of x is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, which in this case would be the sine of x is equal to 10 over 20, which is sine of x is equal to 1/2. Using your digital scientific calculator, you can actually plug that in, and it would give you the x being 30. But it's much, much quicker just to recognize that this is half the length of the hypotenuse, therefore it has to be 30, 60, 90, and this would have to be 30 degrees. Okay, that one is probably the most complicated problem so far, I think. Number 29, here we go. On a coordinate grid, point H is the midpoint of TW. Point H has the coordinates of 4, -4, and point W has the coordinates of 12, 2. Okay, so they give us the midpoint here, and they give us the midpoint coordinates. Okay. All right, these are the ones that always, people have a hard time with these ones for some reason. Okay, what are the coordinates of T? So I find it easier to draw these. So we have T and W, okay? And H is the midpoint. All right, so H is 4, -4. I find people have more success if they draw it like this. And again, this isn't necessarily drawn correctly, like the orientation of it and all that. W is 12, 2. We're looking for T. All right, so we're going to use our midpoint formula, but we're going to use it in a way that's a little different. So we know the x sub mid, so the x value of the midpoint is equal to x1 plus x2 over 2. The thing is, we have our mid, we're just missing one of the x's. So we're going to call this x1 and y1. We're going to call this x sub mid and y sub mid. And this will be x2, y2. Okay. So let's go ahead and plug these in. So x sub mid is 4 equals x sub 1, we don't know what that is. Let's go with that. And then x sub 2 is 12 over 2. So we're going to solve for this x sub 1. So we're going to multiply both sides by 2 because we want to isolate this x sub 1. This becomes 8 equals x sub 1 plus 12. Then we're going to subtract 12 from both sides. And the x sub 1 is going to be -4. So that's the x value of our t. Let's see if -4 is any of them. Yep, it's going to be c, but let's just find the y just to be safe here. So y sub mid is equal to y sub 1 plus y sub 2 over 2. We'll plug in our values. Our y sub mid is -4. Our y sub 1 is unknown. And our 2 is going to be y2, and this is 2. Okay, so we're going to multiply both sides by our denominator, which is 2. We're going to get -8 equals y sub 1 plus 2. We're going to subtract 2 from both sides. And we're going to get y equals -10. Okay, that's a terrible -10. Geez, look at that. Yep, and that's it right there. So part C. Okay. Number 30. Okay. The height of a flagpole rounded to the nearest foot is 42 feet. Which interval shows the possible values of h, the actual height of the flagpole? So it's rounded to the nearest foot. Okay. So it rounds to 42. So if it's rounding to 42, it could be between 41 and 43. No, that's not right. It can be greater than or equal to 41.5. Yep, that's the lowest possible value, and less than 42.5. Yes, because it can't be that value, but it can be just below that in order to be 42. Yeah, that makes sense. If it was that or higher, it's going to be 43. And really the only difference between these two is this. If it was equal to 42.5, it would actually round up to 43. So C is correct. Number 31. The length of a rectangular patio is 3 times the width. Let's try it. Sure. So 3 times the width. So we're going to say this is going to be the length. This is the width. It's going to px. This is 3x. The area is 432 square feet. What is the length? So the area is the length times the width, so it's 3x times x, and that's going to be 432. So 3x squared equals 432. We're solving for length, which is going to be 3 times x. We have to solve for x, though. Let me use another piece of paper here. Okay, so 3x squared equals 432. Let's divide both sides by 3. That's my calculator. So 432 divided by 3 equals 144. So x squared equals 144. We're going to square root both sides. And that is a perfect square, so x would be 12 or negative 12, but it can't be a negative value for dimensions. So x is equal to 12. But we're not done. Don't select 12. You look, A is the first option you see is 12. It's not correct because 12 is going to be the width. We're looking for the length. So it's going to be 12 times 3. And 3 times 12 is, of course, 36 feet. So it should be 36. Okay. And this will be the last one we do. We're running out of time here. Which of the following pairs of numbers are additive inverses of each other? So additive inverse is when you combine them and you get 0. So this would not give you 0. This is the only combination that give you 0. Therefore, they are the additive inverse. We have time. Do we have time? I'd like to get all the way to the open response. See if we can do it. The scatter plot. Actually, we'll stop there. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Hopefully that was helpful.